So today I will start about the rise of startup culture in Indonesia. They say you need to know your audience. And so what better way to start our TEDx talk today with a meme? So this is the representation of the youth when making a startup. When we have a big idea, we tend to get really excited. We tell everyone about it. But during the execution, poof, oh, overthinking sets in and oh no, what's going to happen and everything. So this is what happens currently when a youth start to build a startup. But today, I'm trying to convince you that the youth can start a startup. How? Let's see. Many youth today always say, oh yeah, I always lack experience. Oh, I want to work first before I started my startup. But in reality, there is a way for us to complement our lack of experience with the help of data. In the world of startup, we have to understand a principle, which is we have to build a business using data and not instincts. Next. Now, the thing is about data in Indonesia is that data is incredibly, not a lot of people know about data in Indonesia. In fact, according to the World Bank, we are actually number 43 when it comes to our R&D budget, around $2 billion in 2020. But if we divided that $2 billion with the rest of the population of Indonesia, we only spend $8 per person for the entire year of 2020. You know how small that is? Next. That is less than your average two-person, three-course restaurant meal in Jakarta. So imagine spending less in a common date instead of a research and development to what makes Indonesia successful or what makes Indonesia unsuccessful. So next. Now, the thing is, in 2023, the number actually got decreased from $2 billion to $1.35 billion. It may sound a lot, but it's already 0.02% of our entire country's budget. So let's compare it with the rest of the countries, okay? So this is Indonesia. Currently, we spend a lot less than the entirety of McDonald's. Our entire country spends less in R&D than McDonald's, a hamburger food chain. So this is how bad the R&D situation is in Indonesia. Like many people always tell me, like, oh yeah, that's really amazing how China can build so much startups and technology, how they can catch up with the rest of the world. Oh, how amazing it is that Apple or South Korea or Japan, they can build all these high-tech, amazing technologies. Well, the reason why they can do all these innovations is because they are willing to have expenditure in research and development. In Indonesia, we only spend $1.35 billion, which is very small. Next. Now, this is how I use data. So back then, when I first started my company in the automotive sector, I was laughed at because many people always say, you're just a 20-year-old, you can't really do anything, and your competitors are mostly 40-year-old veterans and they have a lot of experience. And at first, of course, like any other youths would do, I get really discouraged. But then I understand data. Now, how I use it, at first, I thought that my customers would want the best quality. So we focus everything on quality. But in reality, after we do research, turns out my clients want the best brand experience out there. So we focus everything, exactly everything, our resources on brand experience. So what happens is that our company ends up working with the largest BMW seller in all of Southeast Asia. Now it is my job as a consultant to help small companies or big companies to find their research and their data so that they can understand the mistakes, the problems in the industry, so they can build a better industry strategy in order to compete with the rest of the global competition. Next. Now, I'm going to teach you how to build a startup with the help of data. So right now, there is around 24 brands that is built by or led by CEOs below the age of 30. Next. These are all the founders, and I bring them all with me, looking good, everyone. So let's ask them how they built their successful startup. So, guys, what age do you guys started when becoming an entrepreneur? Next. Turns out most of them made their startup below 30. And even in one case, some already made their startup before they were 20 years old. So it is absolutely possible. Next. Okay, so many youths always have this question. So should I work first or should I start my business first? So let's just ask them. So according to them, 12 of them says, yes, I have work experience. 4 says, I have, but it is unrelated to my current industry. 7 says, none, exactly none, and 1 is unknown. So we can see here that most of them still work, but there's also a good chance of 7 plus 4, which is 11 out of 24 that you can build a startup without a single experience in that industry. Now, if we ask more what sort of sector you want to focus on when you're working, we can ask more. Turns out from those 12, 3 works in consulting, 4 works at finance, 2 work at other startups, and 3 works at IT. So if friends here want to build your own startup, it might be good to just see what they did in the past and see what they did, and you can modify with your own unique tastes and blend. Next. Okay, so another question that the youth oftenly asks when building a startup is, should I need founders or should I need more than one founder? So in reality, most of them, 17 out of 24 says, yes, I have founders, I have co-founders. I built the company not with myself, but with other people. Next. Okay, so did you use outside funding? Now this is the most impressive part of the data, which says 22 out of 24 says, yes, I use other people's funding. So they are brave enough to take other people's investments, to put them, to manage them, and to build their startups, not with their own capital, with other people, but with other people's capital. Next. Okay, so let's ask again. From those 22, how do you get those outside funding? So it turns out 4 says they got it through franchises, 4 says private investors, 10 from venture capital, and 2 is from unconfirmed sources, although we do believe that they get it from venture capitalists. Next. Okay, so we already know now what they did. So now it's our chance, our time to adapt and improvise with our current problem. Right now, me and my friends are building a startup. So right now we will tell you about how we end up with the startup idea and how we are building it as we speak. Okay, next. I always like to tell people that building your own company is like building your own kingdom. There is 3 skills that is most needed when you're building your own kingdom. 1 is economics, how good you are at managing your resources, how good you are at maintaining those resources. How do you allocate such resources to the most best, at most capacity, at the best sort of efficiency that your company can produce. Number 2 is law. So many people also always said to me like, oh, I want to start a company, but I'm afraid I'm going to get taken over or my friend backstabbed me. But in reality, if you understand law, none of those things can happen to you because you understand how the legal system works. You know how the company is sanctioned according to the law of the country. So in this sense, if you are not a law student or an economics student or an accounting student, you can choose to go to your friends who came from those accounting or law or economics background, and you can just ask them. Number 3 is social skills. Social skills includes networking, how to inspire people, how to motivate people, how to raise fund. Now, what is also very interesting is that this is a painting I use. This is a specific painting I use. This is a painting of Queen Maria Theresa of Austria, in which she came to the Hungarian nobles and she fundraised lots of money from the nobles to raise an army to protect her kingdom from invasion. So fundraising, how to convince investors, is a skill you must learn. There is no other way. Even kings and queens still fundraise. So this is a skill that you must definitely learn if you want to build a startup. Next. Okay, now we have to find a problem. You have to understand that money is the way society rewards its members. The more amount of money you made means that you contribute the more to society. So the better the problem, the bigger the problem, the more acute the problem, the better. Next. Right now, our startup sees two problems in Indonesia. One, there's so much competition, especially when it comes to coffee shops and then barbers and lots of graphic designers and software companies. There's a lot of them. And number two, we're also seeing a problem where people are starting to retire and the young generations does not want to continue their parents' businesses. Okay, next. So, our solution is that we want to bring merger and acquisition to the small and medium-sized companies. So we allow companies to buy and sell their company. So in our vision, we hope that one day when a person wants to start their own company, but they lack the skills or the system, they can just take over a company. And those who want to retire, they can just sell their company using our platform. Okay, next. Okay, now you already have the idea. It's a really good idea, but only in theory. What is about the team? Okay, next. In my experience, there is 4 ways, 4 wealth motivations that people have. 1 is stability, 2 is freedom, 3 is respect, and 4 is mission. Everyone wants money, just to be honest with you. But the reason why they want money is oftenly different. Now, to understand these motivations, sometimes it can allow us to understand the person itself, why they chose that decision. For example, people who value stability often does not make big, rash decisions. But people who value mission oftenly spend so much money that maybe it can bankrupt the company itself. So, we need to know our team. We need to know our partners. What is their character? What is their motivation? Next. Okay, now we gather the data. Okay, next. So we will test our system. Does the demand for buying and selling companies exist in the market? So we test it with one of the media companies. We put a post there. We analyze several posts there that sells a company, and we ask them, like, how do you sell the company, why you do it, and everything. But it shocked us to realize that turns out that company has been sold in less than 72 hours. A car wash was sold in less than 72 hours. In fact, one of our latest research and our latest data shows that there was a fashion brand that got sold for less than 36 hours. So there is a demand over there. Next. Okay, now that's our research, but what about other people's research? And turns out the big 4 research firms, they support it. They support our research. Lots of merger and acquisitions are happening in the small and medium-sized enterprises. Next. Now, the 4th is pass the fire test. This is oftenly the hardest one because you need lots of resilience and lots of grit. It is when you start to get your first customer. How you convince them, sometimes you have to be really convincing and you have to give trust to people. Now, in here, we can also find loopholes in our system. What sort of ways can the company lose wealth in terms of our system? And the other thing is that during stress tests, oftenly we can build character. We can see our team and it builds our momentum. It can build our character and we can bond our team into a better team. Next. And last one is approach investors. Now you already have a running business. The system works. There's no flaw. The research supports it. And there is a genuine problem about it. So you find investors. Investors can grow your company from being one to a lot or big or a global brand with the help of investors. You have to understand as well that investors need something as well. Investors have a lot of funds, but they lack the innovative young entrepreneurs who's willing to build their dreams using their startup. So this is where you come in. And how you convince them is to use research and data to provide them with the best sort of reasons, objective reasons why the company will succeed. Okay, next. So in the end, I do believe that the youth, although with our lack of experience and our lack of our lack of wisdom, we can build a startup with the help of research and data. And as time goes on, we can build it, we can help society to grow, we can get investors, and we can make a company that can change the world. Thank you.